Welcome to another episode of the NLW podcast. Oh my god, what a week it's been in the world of wrestling. There's going to be a lot to talk about, both with WWE, figure reveals. This could prove to be probably the biggest episode of the NLW podcast so far, but you know what? Got a lot to talk about. I'll get to WrestleMania in due time. I'll get to the figure reveals in due time. And you know what? NLW might be the last thing on most of your minds, and I don't blame you. But I will give some updates as to what's going on in NLW as well, and also what I thought of WrestleMania, of course. I didn't actually watch it, but I did catch up on some of the highlights, and I'll kind of give you my thoughts on the whole shows, both Night 1 and Night 2, and we'll also talk about AEW, Ring of Honor, all that good stuff. So, there's just so much to get through this week. Hold on, because I did have a list. I had a list of what I wanted to say. So, yeah, before we get into the actual wrestling news, I'm sure that's why most of you wanted to hear, but, you know, if you're not interested in NLW, you can skip ahead if you want, but what I'm working on at the moment in terms of video content, what happened before? Oh, yeah, so my light went bust, which was great, so now I have to reorder a new bulb and get that set up before I can film any more matches. Luckily, though, I have finished filming the in-ring stuff for Metal this Saturday, so now I'm just planning on kind of picking up where I left off with the backstage stuff and getting that sorted. I think with one light it should be okay. In terms of other stuff I'm working on Raw and SmackDown Ruthless, so the first episodes of that will be out Monday and Friday this week. And also I'm working on like some other NLW 24/7 stuff, just kind of planning out matches at the moment for some requests. I've got some really cool requests over on Patreon actually recently, and they're going to be in this big 2-night event that I'm going to do, put up on YouTube in the summer and on Patreon, hopefully as soon as possible. I know the next thing I want to put up on the Patreon is these Money in the Bank matches I've been planning for ages now. So hopefully I can get those done within the next week. We'll see when my light gets here. As far as when NLW 103 will come out, I think probably towards the end of the month. At the moment, it's looking like Metal Wrestling will be out this Saturday, though. So, yeah, pretty much all I've been working on recently. I've kind of taken a break because I was going to do WrestleMania predictions last week, but, oh, man, I just didn't have the energy to kind of get around to it. So, I kind of rebooked the card and showed people on Instagram, if you remember that. So, not really working on too much as of right now, but that's just because I've been watching, not really watching wrestling, just kind of keeping up with all this news and keeping up with all this like figure news as well. So, yeah, in terms of wrestling figure news, there was a bunch that we got recently from Ringside in terms of WWE figure reveals. So, let's have a look, because there was so many, it's difficult to kind of narrow it down. And there were a lot of toyetic attires at WrestleMania, so those will definitely be ones to look out for. So there's a bunch of these that I've wanted to pre-order. You know, we've got a couple of pre-order bonuses come up. So yeah, we'll start off right at the very start of the reveals they had. So we got these basics coming in. We've got like the Randy Orton with the hoodie, which I might get, but then you got some of these lazy basics like Bianca and Candice LeRae, which aren't looking too good. There is a cool Rey Mysterio one, though, that they've done in a basic attire, but this Kushida, man, it's looking a bit rough. They're really phoning it in with these basics, in my opinion, but I don't know, it is what it is. Let's move on to the actual good reveal. So MSK, that's of course Nash Carter and Wes Lee, formerly the Rascals. I've pre-ordered them. They are definitely going to be added to the tag team division as soon as I get them, and yeah, cannot wait for those. This Mace is looking pretty cool as well, but then again, I'm not a massive fan of Retribution, so going to hold off on buying them until a later date. We've got this British Bulldog, which is really nice. This Bret Hart does look decent, although the head scan, the hair is way too pushed back for my liking, so I don't know, maybe if it goes down in price I might pick one up. Elite 95 though looks like a really, really good series. You've got Big E there as champion. These two Eddie Guerrero figures, which I've been wanting for a long time. I'm not too sure about this head scan though. Looks like he's a bit, I don't know, he's been grinning a little bit there. It looks a bit off. This Shotzi Blackheart though, oh my god, that is definitely one I'm going to add to the women's division. Yeah, all the tattoos and everything looks so cool. And this John Cena as well looks really sick. We've also got the Brock Lesnar in his promo Cowboy Brock attire. So, yeah, not too bad here. But, yeah, actually, when I look forward, the head scan does look a little bit off. He's got a bit of a weird smile to him, but still, it's still cool to get a Brock in that kind of attire. And another set of figures I pre-ordered were these SummerSlam ones. So you got the Randy Orton, the Shawn Michaels, and the Rey Mysterio. A lot of them from that 2004, 2005 era. And it makes a little Dominic Mysterio from when he was a kid, which looking like an Eminem. Definitely a weird figure to make, but I don't know. It's a strange one. And this Sherry looks pretty decent as well. So yeah, I love that they're releasing more of these Ruthless Aggression figures. Likewise, I've just pre-ordered the Shawn Michaels and Batista ones. And also, my God, like the second wave as well. This Rey Mysterio finally in the 2002 era kind of attire. This new RVD as well, and surprisingly a Booker T from the NWO, which looks cool. And you know what? We continue the Ruthless Aggression theme with these Legends figures because we've got this Rey Mysterio from One Night Stand, his ECW attire, which is really sick. We've got the APA when they were the Acolytes, got Molly Holly as well as Mighty Molly, which is a definite pickup for me, as well as this Stacy Keibler as well. And, you know, this X-Pac looks really sick too. And Kane. Oh my God, like so many cool figures that they've shown off. And that Ultimate Edition Batista, oh man, I really hope that I can get my hands on it here in the UK, but it might be a bit difficult too. And then you've got these Edge figures, one's the Chase and one's the standard variant from like 2001 era. Mean Mark Calloway as well. And I know I'm listing off a load of them, but there were so many reveals that I'm really excited for. Even these top picks, like this Rey Mysterio that I'm looking at right now with the kind of superhero getup. Kind of looks like, yeah, like a Batman-inspired type thing with the blue mask. Looks really cool. And that Randy Orton as well. Yeah, and this Roman Reigns, this tribal chief with the red glove and the ooh-ah, you know, that like that growl, that tribal growl of his on display there looks really sick. And yeah, some more Ultimate Editions as well. We've got this Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, which are ones that I'm definitely planning on getting once they go down in price. Obviously, we'll see if that is the case. And to the moon, we've got this Cameron Grimes ringside exclusive. Not out until September, but, you know, maybe hopefully they'll push it forward a little bit. But that's one I'll definitely want to pick up. And the Randy Savage NWO. Oh my God, so many that are just definite wants for me. Another weird one, though, is this Jey Uso, because... no, Jimmy Uso, in fact, but they've given them like the Jey Uso haircut. So yeah, a couple of ones that are just a bit off, let's just say. And they also put the pre-order up for Unmatched Series 4. But obviously, I'm skint at the moment. I ain't pre-ordering anything else for a very long time. And I think the only one out of that set I really want from that Unmatched series is probably Jade. I know everyone's probably wanting to buy that CM Punk, but... you know, skinny legs might be a bit off-putting to me personally. I'll see once I've got kind of an idea of what the other figures are looking like before I decide to make a purchase. But that Jade is definitely one that I will kind of be buying once it's out. But that's enough for the figure news. Also, the pre-order on the barbed wire set has come through, which is good news for me because I'll be using the Moxley from that pack in the exploding barbed wire deathmatch that I'm going to do at Revival. So, very cool. And yeah, apologies again for taking these, taking quite a long time with these segments. Like I said, it's probably going to be a longer episode of the podcast. And a lot of the time it might just be me saying, oh, I like this figure. Oh, I like this one. But yeah, I've not really got a lot more to kind of add that hasn't already been said online. All I will say, though, is, you know, some of the head scans are a bit off, especially with that Eddie, but there's still attires that I really want. So... yeah, I'm sure I can mix and match and do some work. And the Goldberg that breathes fire, yeah, that's sick. Oh, man. And the action figure attack, I completely forgot. The crowdfunding, they've released some pictures for that. We've also found out that they're going to bring the crowd dioramas as part of that as well, which is so cool to kind of add. And I cannot wait to get that whole set in my collection. I've got one that I'm going to open and one that I'm going to keep mint condition. So yeah, very much looking forward to everything that was revealed today. Curse my my wallet and my limitations, but hey, if you want to support the channel and help me buy more toys, you can subscribe to the Patreon and also buy my merch. The link is in the description. Got a bunch of new shirts up over there, and it will really kind of help the channel out, as well as repping some of the NLW brands. So yeah, thanks for the guys who have already picked up some merch. Actually, yeah, I'm quite. I wouldn't say surprised, but like just grateful that, you know, you're supporting me this way. Really appreciate you picking up some of the merch as well. And likewise for the people on the Patreon who are still subbed, like thank you so much. But yeah, so that's figure news. In terms of wrestling news, Where do we begin? It was a very, very big weekend for wrestling. Obviously, WrestleMania weekend. I remember going to WrestleMania 34 and it being like, I felt like a kid on Christmas. It was, definitely like an experience to behold, really. We'll just start off with kind of the early shows in the week. So the Raws and the SmackDowns. So, yeah, not happy about Finn Balor and Ricochet not making it on the card. They're your mid-card champions. They're two of the best wrestlers in the company at the moment, especially Finn Balor being like as over as he is. To be left off the card, I don't know, man. It feels really wrong, personally, and kind of annoying. Because if they were on the card, it would make me more interested to tune in. But I think both Ricochet and Finn Balor lost to Austin Theory last week, so God knows what they're doing there, and that's kind of annoying. So we'll see. Also, in terms of what happened in AEW, a lot of cool stuff happened in AEW this week. We had a bunch of cool matches. We saw CM Punk and Max Caster. We saw Wheeler Yuta and Bryan Danielson. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Keith Lee. Two big boys colliding in the ring. That was sick. Top Flight versus the Young Bucks was fun for what it was as well. So, a bunch of really cool matches on the AEW side of things. But, man, like, I'm kind of regretting not getting the Ring of Honor card at the moment. So, Dynamite was pretty good. But, yeah, the Ring of Honor card, I knew the card going in, so I was like, I was of two minds about it, because I knew it would be good, but I didn't know if it would be great, if you see what I mean. And from what I've seen, a lot of people have said it's like was the show of the weekend. So yeah, like we'll look at the results over here. So a couple of notable things from that. We've got the return of Brian Cage, now being managed by Tully Blanchard. I'm glad to see Cage back. I think he's been misused a lot in AEW, and hopefully they can find a place for him in Ring of Honor. Maybe go against Suzuki for the television championship. And speaking of Suzuki, he's the new TV champion, defeating Rhett Titus. So excited to see what happens with him in Ring of Honor coming forward. Wheeler Yuta as well, now getting a push in Ring of Honor as the pure champion. We had him have a great showing against Bryan Danielson on Dynamite, so that's cool. And also good to see Jay Lethal finally being put in a prominent position, both on Dynamite, because I know he faced Jon Moxley, but also here against Lee Moriarty, beating him, and then challenging Jonathan Gresham at the end of the night. We had the World Tag Team titles on the line for Ring of Honor. Apparently one of the best tag team matches ever between FTR and the Briscoes, and I really have to go out of my way to watch this, but I can't afford it right now. I don't want to pay 20 quid just for that match, but I will try and find out highlights from it if I can, because, all I've heard is people raving about this match. So, I can't really judge it fairly, but still cool to see FTR as Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Hopefully the Briscoes stick around in this new kind of reimagined Ring of Honor. And what about the main event? Oh yeah, Bandito as well is a guy I'll hope that will stick around, but I'm not too sure what the actual future of this Ring of Honor roster is going to be, whether they're going to sign Bandito or what. But yeah, Jonathan Gresham won the winner-takes-all match. At the end of the match, who would come out but Samoa Joe, making his return to Ring of Honor Wrestling. Oh my god, man. Like, Samoa Joe is one of my favorite wrestlers ever, and I'm so happy to see him back again, and apparently like in a proper wrestling position as well, not just like an authority figure, an on-screen guy. No, he is there to be a wrestler, to win world championships. That's what he said in the media scrum. So we'll see him on Dynamite this week, and it'll be very interesting to see what he has to say. In other news, we also had the Hall of Fame ceremony. So we had Vader being inducted, although Nikki Bella had a little bit of a faux pas this week when she said, I can't wait to hear his induction speech, despite the fact he passed several years ago. But yeah, bit strange there. And we had, who else got inducted? The Steiner brothers. Yeah, the Steiners apparently burying the hatchet with Triple H, which was interesting to see. And the Undertaker with, Undertaker's legend speaks for itself, really. So good to see him get inducted in Texas. What other shows were there? I mean, there were a bunch of shows on WrestleMania weekend, but we'll see what this other card is looking like. So we got results from NXT. We had a Fatal 5-Way ladder match. So Cameron Grimes finally winning the championship again. Did he win it before? I can't remember quite if he did win it before. But still, I'm happy to see him as the champion, because I think he's quite a good character that they've got going on down there. No, it appears he has not won it before. So, yeah, that was... I saw some of the highlights. That was pretty cool. You had Tony D'Angelo beating Tommaso Ciampa, which, fair enough. But Ciampa getting a good send-off from Triple H. Well, it'll be interesting to see what he does on the main roster. I feel like he'll slot in better than people give him credit for. That's just my opinion. At least, MSK won the tag titles. You had Mandy Rose retaining the women's title. Gunther beating LA Knight. Walter, I'm not calling him Gunther. And then, surprisingly, Dolph Ziggler beating Bron Breakker for the NXT title. So much for wanting Braun to win it back. That is a weird decision, a weird one for Bron Breakker not to win. But honestly, if he doesn't debut on the main roster on Raw, I mean, Lord knows what they're doing down there in NXT. But again, like, a lot of what I say could be out of date by the time this goes up on YouTube. Obviously on Patreon, it will go up on the Monday night. So I haven't seen Raw yet. Don't know what's gone on Raw. But yeah, hoping that they've... Well, actually, I don't hope that they brought up Bron Breakker. I feel like it could be too soon. But yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait to make judgment on that. So now we'll move on to WrestleMania. Likewise, what I said last week in the podcast, I said I wasn't going to watch it. And I stuck with that because I did not want to waste my time watching 4 hours each night. 8 hours in total? 9 hours, if that. So I didn't want to kind of invest my time because genuinely looking at the card, was not excited in the least for this. But it does seem from the response that people have given that they exceeded expectations. So, the Usos beating Nakamura and Boogs. Sad for Boogs to suffer that injury. McIntyre beating Corbin. Never going to be interested in that. The Miz and Logan Paul beating Mysterio and Dominic. That's a weird one. I feel like Rey and Dominic should have won that easily. But, oh man, that's a bit of a sucky result. But still not too bad a match from what I heard. I heard great things about Bianca and Becky. I still need to watch highlights of that one. But a match I did watch all the way through was Cody and Seth Rollins. Oh man, like, where do I begin with this? Cody coming up with his same gimmick, same presentation from AEW. And this is going to sound weird to say. It's kind of backhanded, but it's not really. AEW is better without Cody Rhodes, but WWE is better with Cody Rhodes, if you see what I mean. And I think that Cody Rhodes is better without AEW and Cody Rhodes is better with WWE. It just feels like a better fit. And, you hear all these interviews and stuff that, by the way, great media scrum that Cody did after WrestleMania. It's about 50 minutes long, but I'd highly recommend you guys checking it out because he says a lot of interesting things in that interview. He comes across as really really likable and just has a lot of interesting things to say. And it makes a lot more sense that he's left AEW now because you understand what his goals and what his motivations are. I know he wants to be the world champion in WWE. That seems like a goal of his. He wants that redemption arc to come back. Whereas I feel like a lot of other people, perhaps, the John Moxleys and the Bryan Danielsons of the world, they may return one day, but for now, I feel like they've got closure on their time and they've accomplished all they've wanted to. But it never felt like Cody did. And you can tell that whereas the Young Bucks and Omega, like he said, actually, Cody said they wanted to do this for themselves and to improve professional wrestling, but Cody wanted to do it kind of out of spite. That's why on BTE and like AEW TV, a lot of the time it was Cody Rhodes taking those pot shots at WWE, mentioning them. Because I know a lot of people say, WWE lives rent-free in these AEW wrestlers' head. It's a bit of fun, really, at the end of the day. I don't mind when either company takes shots at the other. Likewise, I thought the graphic that BT Sport put up, where or WWE on Fox, whoever it was, that said Cody Rhodes is WWE, mocking the All Elite announcements of signings. I thought that was hilarious. So it's very cool to see Cody get that massive pop. And I will be honest, I haven't hated Cody Rhodes. I've hated the way he's been portrayed in AEW over the past year. I feel like he could have been doing a lot more. He was very unlikable in AEW, and I just hope that something changes slightly in his presentation in WWE to where he can continue this babyface momentum, because he was over like Rover, man, like Mania, and his match against Rollins kicked ass. Like, it was my favourite match that I've seen from WWE in ages. I come in here and there, watch a couple of matches here and there, but this match was great, and it felt like Cody of AEW versus Seth Rollins of WWE, and it was fantastic, and the crowd went nuts. I hate the discourse between fans like, oh, he's a sellout, or AEW fans are bitter, or all this kind of stuff. I'm just happy for the man. Like, there's a lot of toxicity around it, but Cody, I think he's a great wrestler, and you can see that when he had this match, and yeah, can't gush about this enough. This was perfect, really what it needed to be. So surreal, but at the same time, like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. I hated Cody Rhodes in AEW. I thought it was up until he even mentions the Agogo feud in the media scrum where he was like, yeah, maybe I did miss the mark on that one. So he's more self-aware than I think people give him credit for in many ways, but in other ways, I don't know. He was never going to be that big star in AEW. I feel like if he was in AEW, he could have had a monster run as a heel, man. Like as the kind of face who the heel who believes he's a babyface. That could have had so much steam to challenge for the world title. Think he's a hero in the eyes of the fans, and yeah, for whatever reason, he just didn't want that. And in hindsight, it is understandable. Hopefully, securing that bag with the WWE, and they really need to treat him like a star, and they do seem to be doing that so far. Because I know Vince McMahon himself said what he was doing isn't broken, so he's not going to change it, and that's really interesting to hear from someone who's usually staunchly like, we're going to change everything about you, your name, everything like this. So yeah, that was very interesting. Flair and Rousey, not too much of a fan of that one from the highlights I saw. But Austin versus Owens, they really should have announced this beforehand because I feel like they would have sold so many more tickets than they did. But still very cool to see Steve Austin retire on his terms, have that one last hurrah. It was a good match by regular standards, let alone the fact that Steve Austin's like 57 and hasn't wrestled in 20 years properly, taking bumps on concrete and things of that nature. Oh my god, like it was what it needed to be. It was fantastic and a great way to close out night one of Mania. We'll go on to night two. The opening tag, that was great from the highlights I watched. Lashley beats Omos. That was a weird result. I don't know what's going on there. Knoxville and Sami Zayn, I like jackass shenanigans, so this was for me. Might not have been for everyone though, and that's fine. Sasha Banks and Naomi as tag champions though, I'm pretty happy with. I think that they'd hopefully they can elevate the division, but judging by what's happened in the past, I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. Edge and AJ Styles, again, the highlights of this one, maybe been a bit too long for my liking had I watched the whole thing, but still cool to see this match finally happen. And apparently Edge is going to lead a new faction, which is featuring Damian Priest, which that should be very interesting. Had a squash with the New Day being beaten, not too interested in that. The Pat McAfee and Austin Theory stuff isn't really my cup of tea either, and the McMahon stuff as well. It's like, not really for me. Just weird for if anything, honestly. But Austin gave McMahon one of the worst stunners of all time, so there's that. And then the main event, a match, again, I watched the highlights of, but yeah, stuff we've seen before, really, with Roman and Brock. And yeah, it wasn't bad. It was fine as a WrestleMania main event. Probably better than the last one in terms of like the hype, but then again, the crowd last time, because I was there for that last main event, and it stunk. It stunk out the building big time. So this one was a little bit better than that one. Again, not really saying much, to be honest, but yeah, Roman is the champion now of both brands, holds both championships. So again, we've got a heel winning WrestleMania as champion. I don't know, I feel like they should have like a happier ending for WrestleMania, but maybe we'll get that next year. I really hope they build someone up so that they can beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39 in LA. It's got to be Cody, hasn't it? Surely? I don't know. I feel like it has to be Cody. That's just my opinion. People may say that he's not deserving of it. I think he is. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts on WrestleMania. Obviously, the only real kind of investment I had in it was Cody, and that match delivered for me. Edge and AJ as well was a real fun one to watch, and Austin versus Owens as well. Great stuff. Like, yeah. But again, I am not going to go out of my way to watch this in full, I don't think, no matter what anyone says, because I feel like just looking at the results is enough for me. There's enough wrestling out there that I don't think I need to kind of catch up on WrestleMania. But, fair play to him. The presentation was fantastic, and I think it could have been so much better, though. That's the real thing about it. But the matches that I did catch did deliver, so not too bad. And it was a spectacle, and that's what WrestleMania is supposed to be. So if I could sum it up in a word, I don't know, stupendous would be the word, maybe. But Man, my voice is hoarse. So we've got match and wrestler of the week. And it's going to be a difficult one. I don't want to annoy anyone because you could make an argument for any match of the week, particularly like over all the WrestleMania shows, over WrestleMania weekend. So I'm going to go with the easy one and say my match of the week is Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, and my wrestler of the week is Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I know that Kevin Owens would have pulled his weight in that match as well, but Austin to take those bumps and still go in there and look pretty decent, credit to him. So yeah, he's my wrestler of the week, and it's also unlikely that he'll ever get wrestler of the week again, so hats off to Steve Austin. So yeah, a longer episode of the podcast, but I did want to get through WrestleMania and give you my thoughts on it. Not really a lot more to say than that, honestly, in terms of wrestling news, but we'll go on to NLW updates, Patreon shout-outs, and my question of the week. So, I'm sure I had a question last week that I wanted to answer, but yeah, first of all, NLW updates. What's coming up on the channels this week? So, we've got Raw Ruthless on Monday, SmackDown Ruthless on Friday. That's every 2 weeks. Of course, I put out my schedule video if you want a better idea of what the schedule's going to be moving forward. I think as well, it's not... Well, yeah, next Monday, it's going to be a special video where I show off Conor McGregor's latest UFC fight, and there may be an altercation with CM Punk, so you might want to check that one out. We've got NLW 24/7 Points of Authority this Wednesday. The show is in full, and it's going to feature Darby Allin versus Andre the Giant, Triple H versus Cody Rhodes, Okada versus Terry Funk, and in the main event, Falls Count Anywhere, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and Finn Balor. It's definitely one of the more interesting shows I've ever made. Do check it out this Wednesday. And of course, we cannot forget, Metal Wrestling will be out this Saturday night. It is going to happen. Metal Wrestling, Jushin Liger versus CM Punk, Riho versus Candice LeRae, a Seth Rollins Open Challenge, the Firefly Funhouse, McIntyre and Joe confront each other, and the main event, going to be huge, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. My God, you do not want to miss this show. There's going to be a big ending, and it's I've had a lot of fun filming it. And this Thursday on this NLW Figs channel, actually, I'll show off an exclusive preview of the arena and the stage and everything that I think you'll like it quite a lot, hopefully. So those are my updates for NLW. Before I get into my question of the week, I will quickly shout out my patrons. So here we go. We've got Clarence Morris III, John, Cringe God, Remy Montoya, Anthony Hill, Brady Babcock, Brandon Furman, Casey Hellskull, Cupid, Devin Downlin, Flynn Lampkin, Cameron Joyner, PTW Animations, Ryan McCarthy, ES Productions, Outros World, and Kids Zap. Thank you all for being signed up to the Patreon. If you want to support the channel and help me buy more of those figure reveals that we saw earlier this week, then you can sign up to my Patreon. For just $1, you can get early access to a bunch of stuff, including this podcast early one day, as well as like a downloadable version of it. And you'll also get an exclusive NLW 24/7 show that won't be released until May, so that is something that you'll want to see. It's called NLW 24/7 Backlash. It's got a huge Fatal 4-Way tag main event, and that is up a whole month early on the Patreon. You can check that right now for just $1 if you want, and $3 will get you voting power as well as discounts on my merch. So if you want to sign up to the Patreon, you can get a discounted code from me. Just ask me for the code and I'll give it to you if you sign up to the Patreon. So that's all those plugs out of the way. We'll go on to the question of the week, and there was a good one left last week, and I'll try and find it if I can, because keep sending your questions, leave them in the comments below. Obviously I'll try and answer as many as possible over the next couple of weeks and that kind of thing. So hold up, I'll just get it up here on the old YouTube. No, I want to turn on incognito. Let's have a look. So this is the part of the podcast where I kind of ramble on a little bit because I'm not prepared at all. Here we go. So this was left on the podcast last week. So we had a great question from Matt Galloway, SWE, and it says, do you think NLW would do a cross event with another Fed like GCW, WSC, FAW, MDT, etc.? So I think it would be so cool to get everyone together. It's just, I know from personal experience, it's so hard to get everyone on the same page for a series for just one person, let alone like 5 or 6 to get a match done and to kind of sync it up. Because what I would love to happen would be to have them all have storyline significance. Like, I don't just want to put out a match that is put on a show, you know. I think it'd be really cool to have 6 matches that all have unique storylines. And, you know, those would be great people to kind of collaborate with, you know, but it would also be difficult as well. Like, what channel do you put the card on? Like, do you put it on like a neutral channel? How do you split the kind of viewership and money and all this kind of stuff really that goes with the big stuff? But I would like to do like a smaller kind of feel where there's not as much pressure there to kind of not deliver, but I think it'd be cool to get like a bunch of feds together and do like a match each. But again, like in that scenario, I'd worry that I was kind of leaving people off the card. I would like to do like a thing that was like NLW versus the world, where, you know, you got a bunch of matches for people I know that might want to put like their work out there on like a YouTube format, so to speak. So it's definitely something I would be open to for like a cross promotional thing. But again, we'll wait and see. We've already seen MDT in the NLW universe. You know, anything is possible. And you've already seen NLW make the promo for WSC a couple weeks ago. So yeah, anything is possible. They can hit me up at any time. And I'll probably say yes because I've got nothing better going on. So yeah, thank you, Matt Galloway, for the question, and thank you all for listening to my rambling thoughts on figures, podcasting, WrestleMania, you name it. Next week we'll be talking about Samoa Joe, because I love Samoa Joe, and we'll be talking about whether or not Roman Reigns' reign is good. We'll be talking about Cody. We'll be talking about the Raw after WrestleMania next week, because obviously most of you, by the time you watch this, the Raw after WrestleMania will have happened, but I haven't seen it yet. So yeah, cannot wait to talk about that next week. In the meantime, thank you all for listening, and I will catch you guys later.